Welcome back to the Nutrition Made Simple podcast. At Healthy Steps Nutrition, we believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple, habit-based approach when working with clients. We know that becoming the healthiest version of yourself isn't just about telling you what to eat. We look at a holistic approach at Healthy Steps Nutrition. We know that sleep, support system, stress management, mindset, exercise, lifestyle, and of course, nutrition all come together to help you become the healthiest version of yourself. I'm your host, Nicole Coyne, registered dietitian and founder of Healthy Steps Nutrition, CrossFit HSN, and HSN Mentoring. I'm also the author of the Healthy Kids Cookbook, 100% kid-approved recipes the entire family will love. You can find it on Amazon. This is a great stocking stuffer for kids. In this podcast, I will be teaching you how to take one step at a time to become the healthiest version of yourself. Today's guest is Amanda Haar. She is one of the Healthy Steps Nutrition HQ dietitians who specializes in women's health and hormones. In today's episode, we discuss 3 tips for women to optimize hormone levels. Amanda came on the podcast a few months ago, and we talked about 4 things that contribute to hormone health. It was one of the most downloaded podcast episodes of the entire year. You can listen to that episode if you scroll back to episode number 36 on this podcast. Today's episode will give you practical tips to help women optimize their hormone levels. While these tips will help if you are looking to learn more about your hormone health and take a deep dive, HSN is hosting a Women's Health and Hormone Challenge launching on January 24th. Amanda talks about the details of this challenge in this week's podcast, so tune in. We will get to this podcast episode right after this message. Are you enjoying this podcast? Please share your thoughts with us. Follow us on Instagram, Nicole_RD_HSN and at Healthy Steps Nutrition, and send us some topics you'd love to hear about. We make this podcast for you. The goal of this podcast is really to inspire listeners to take one step at a time to become the healthiest versions of themselves. We are almost at the end of 2021, and with the new year around the corner, more people will want to get healthy. We would love for you to share this podcast with your network of people. Take a screenshot and you can post it in your story. Don't forget to tag us so that we can share it. Thank you so much and enjoy this podcast episode. Amanda, welcome back to the Nutrition Made Simple podcast.
It's always a pleasure being here, Nicole.
Today, we are talking about one of your favorite subjects, hormone health, and we actually did a podcast that people can go back and listen to on your hormone health and your nutrition recently.
Yes, we did. So we covered kind of the 4 basic fundamental factors that influence our hormones. And so if you want kind of an overview of what types of things influence your hormones and how to kind of take steps forward to optimize them, definitely check out that episode. We talk about how your gut health, your liver health and detoxification, your inflammation, and your blood sugar balance all contribute to your hormone balance.
That was probably one of the most popular podcast episodes that we've ever pushed out this year. So if you want to listen to it, go ahead and click the link in the show notes and you can go back and listen to that episode. Today, we are diving deep into more things about hormones. And, what would you say are 3 of the biggest things that it comes to when we talk about optimizing our hormone health?
Yeah, so of course with hormones, it's a very complex subject and there's lots of things that it can impact people in different ways. But 3 of the biggest tips that I've found to be helpful in the research and with clients are actually some of kind of like the softer type of skills that we don't always think about. And sometimes we just try to avoid thinking about. So the first one is relaxation and stress management. The second is consistency in what we're eating in our routine. And the third is intuitive eating and really listening to our bodies.
All right, let's dive into the first one. When we talk about relaxation and stress management, stress seems like in today's society, it's like, oh yeah, we're stressed, we're busy, everyone's really busy, we're around the holidays, it's even busier season. we're in this go, go, go mode, but in reality, we really need to slow down. We know that stress is linked to cortisol levels, but how does that impact your hormone health?
Yeah. So when cortisol levels go up for a chronic amount of time, right? Like some stress is good here and there, right? We're meant to run from the tiger, but we're not meant to run from the tiger all day, every day. So when our cortisol levels go up, this actually kind of blocks our body's ability to produce enough progesterone. And progesterone is a really important hormone in the second half of our cycle to support a pregnancy and also to avoid excess PMS symptoms as well.
Okay, that's important, right? No one wants to have excess PMS symptoms. So what should we do to try to manage stress? What are some tips that you work with clients to help manage stress?
Yeah. So of course, this one is one of the ones that are near and dear to my heart because I was always go, 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 go. Right. And, I remember even back in college, I couldn't even go through a yoga class because I was like, this is a waste of my time. I'm not burning a whole lot of calories. Right. And usually when my clients don't want to do things that help them slow down, it means that they need to do it even more. So if we can't stop our bodies, it really means that we need to take a step back and think about how we can manage our stress. So some examples of this is, incorporating breathing exercises. Breathing exercises naturally bring oxygen to the brain, lowering our cortisol levels. And this is something you can do anywhere, anytime. No one even knows that you're doing it. One of the most basic breathing exercises that I love for even digestion before meals is a 4-7-8 breathing. So it's taking a breath in for 4 counts, holding it for 7, breathing out for 8. And it helps tell our brain to tell our gut to rest and digest versus being in that fight and flight mode. So also you're driving along the road, you get some road rage. That's a really good time to do some breathing exercises. Unnecessary stress.
That's a great tip. I was introduced to a guy named Jason Stevenson. He has a lot of stuff on YouTube, but it helps people who struggle with this, with breathing exercises and slowing down in meditation. He does like guided meditations. And so Jason Stevenson, we can put a link to some of his videos in the show notes as well. That would be a great place if you need help just getting started with this. If this is a brand new concept for you, I think that's a great place to start. It's funny that you brought up exercise and yoga because I definitely felt the same way with yoga in college. But when I talk to a lot of the psychologists and therapists that we've had on Nutrition Made Simple or even just in our Facebook group, they all say stress management and exercise is one of the best ways to relieve stress. So getting active, just moving, getting your heart rate up so that you can actively manage your stress is so, so valuable. And even being proactive with this, right? Like making sure that you're blocking out time to get that exercise in. So I love those examples. I know one thing you talk a lot about is sleep.
Oh, it is a foundation, isn't it? I know for me personally, like if I don't have at least 7 hours of sleep, I feel awful and I'm not myself. And another thing that when we don't get enough sleep, it increases our cortisol levels naturally, and that messes with our blood sugar balance as well. So really focusing on getting at least 7, optimally for hormone health, 8+ hours of sleep on a regular basis is huge. And, that might be really easy to say, but life happens, right? So we can think about like, how can we have better sleep hygiene and fall asleep faster when we take time for sleep? So things like not having our phone in bed is huge. I always turn my phone on to airplane mode over nighttime because I don't want any alerts or notifications ever waking me up. I would be very mad if that happened. Even reading real books versus reading on a screen and having a bedtime routine where your body kind of gets a signal, okay, I'm calming down, I'm going to bed now. Starting that routine around the same time most nights of the week is going to be really helpful for getting that restorative sleep that we need.
I love that. I think we've nailed down relaxation and stress management. Let's talk about consistency. I know for so many people, this is such a tough piece of the puzzle. Consistency with all aspects, right? Sleeping and eating and exercising. But we know those consistent habits create our lifestyle, and it can either go in a positive direction or it could not. What are some things that you talk about with clients who are specifically looking for hormone health in regards to consistency?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I love that at Healthy Steps Nutrition. A lot of the first steps that we take are having half a plate of non-starchy veggies with meals. And when we have those veggies, we not only get a lot of nutrients from them, and of course, we're not having as many of the calorie-dense foods that we would normally be getting if we weren't having as much vegetables, but also we are getting more fiber through those foods. And what fiber does in regards to our hormones, it helps our body clear excess estrogen and fight inflammation. And when we can clear excess estrogen, then we are going to be more likely to ovulate regularly, and we are also going to be more likely to have less PMS symptoms in the second half of our cycle as well. A lot of the hormone-based diseases or conditions that people struggle with do stem from excess estrogen. So when we can have a good balance between that and progesterone, that's typically where we see the best balance with our hormones.
What diseases are you specifically talking about? When people say they struggle with hormones, what hormone diseases do you work with clients?
Yeah, so the ones that we see people reaching out the most for are things like PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. That's one of the most common ones. Endometriosis is another one. Infertility. And that can be anyone who's like struggling to get pregnant naturally, or also like we've been working lately with some people going through IVF, and that helps to increase chances of a successful IVF transfer, and also even something like PMS. So, I mean, a society kind of normalizes PMS, but it doesn't have to be so normal. And it's really cool to see, like, when we're able to work together, especially with the stress management and building up our nutrition, how that can help to reduce those symptoms and make life just more tolerable for, half a month, every single month.
I love that. Okay. I think that's really important because a lot of people, I've had more calls with people who are interested in getting started with nutrition coaching, and they say, I have PCOS and I lost weight, gained it back, and now I'm struggling with symptoms again. And when they lost the weight and it was under control, their PCOS was under control, and now at this point in their life, it's not. So I'm so happy that you're able to help those people and work through so that they can see the results that they're looking for, and most importantly, just feel better. Because at the end of the day, we want to feel good, right?
Definitely, right? And as women, it's pretty cool that we have like this whole kind of second set of a system that influences our brain, our body, all of us so much throughout the month. So either it can work to our benefit or it can work to our disadvantage.
Awesome. So consistency with those fiber-rich foods. I also think, and we talked about this in the previous podcast, the blood sugar balance, right? And just balancing your protein, carbs, and fats to make sure that your blood sugar is staying at a stable level. And we know your blood sugar will go up when you have carbohydrates, but it's not going to spike up as fast and as high if you pair it with protein and fat, and depending on the type of carbohydrates that you consume.
Definitely. Yep. You're right. Like with all of our meals and snacks, we want to have all those things before our workout. Of course, we want just protein and carbohydrates. Fat's going to be a little bit harder to digest, but you're right. Like it's like combining those things in themselves can be so helpful for blood sugar balance.
I love that. We work with a company called Levels, and one of the things that they posted about recently was just taking a walk after you eat will help to regulate your blood sugar so much, which I think is super, super interesting. And also sleep, right? We need consistent sleep. So we talked about sleep with stress management, but we also need sleep because it helps to regulate other hormones that are involved with our nutrition, leptin, ghrelin hormones that are super powerful too.
Definitely. Yep. And I don't know about you, like, how do you feel when you get not enough sleep throughout the week?
I mean, let's be honest. We're craving more foods that we would not normally crave, and we're not satisfied with the foods when we eat them. It's just like we end up overeating and just never really feel satisfied. I don't know of a day that if I didn't have much sleep at all, I'm craving broccoli.
If only, right?
All right, let's talk about tip number 3, and then I want to dive into something that's super special to you that we're starting in January. Intuitive eating. This is such a buzzword. What do you really mean by intuitive and mindful eating?
Yeah. So, wow. And it seems like another thing that's such a soft skill, but it can be so, so powerful. I have to say, like when I'm working with clients on intuitive eating, and I'll talk about more about what it is, but first they say, oh, well, that seems really easy. But then 2 weeks later, they come back and they're like, wow, I noticed so many things, because it is literally listening and learning how your body feels in response to foods. So it's kind of like you are your own test subject and you are figuring out how different foods feel to you. Because in the context of hormones, one person might tolerate more carbohydrates than the next person for blood sugar balance. So that's where a really important tool is being able to tune in and track how different foods make you feel.
I love that. And it's what is it? Let's talk about what you're actually doing when you're working with clients to be more intuitive when they're eating.
Sure. So another thing that I love with HSN is we have an intuitive eating hunger scale, and it helps people rate how they're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being ridiculously hungry, you haven't eaten in a few days, and 10 being overstuffed, like you've eaten, 3 days worth of food at one time. And then we quantify in the middle of there where we want to be. We want to start eating at a 3. We want to stop eating around a 7. And so it really helps us come back to when we're eating food and when we're stopping eating, do I need to eat this whole plate? Am I waiting too long to eat? So I'm over hungry, so then I overeat. So it really helps kind of give us the information on when and how much we need to eat for our own personal selves.
It's interesting that you are talking about this. Jason and I were out to dinner recently, and I was eating and we were talking, and by the time I was full, I had only eaten half of my plate, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm done. And the server was like, did you like it? I'm like, yes, I loved it. The food was very good. Like, I get the same thing at the restaurant every single time we go. It was awesome. He's like, well, then why didn't you finish your plate? I'm like, well, I'm full. And I think we live in this culture, and a lot of parents, teach their kids, like, you have to clear your plate. You have to clear your plate, right? You're not getting up until you clear your plate. When in reality, if we sat down and listened, okay, I'm full, I don't need to eat anymore, and we saved the portion of it for later, that would be such a better option to teach our bodies to not overconsume.
You're right. And as an adult, if you're part of the Clean Plate Club as a kid, it's really hard to overcome that. But I love how, through accountability and through learning more about yourself, that becomes a lot easier too. And I have to say too, something with, especially women that I work with who are around perimenopause. So like they're on the path towards menopause. It's been really cool to see like when they're listening into, let's say, if they actually need starch with their dinner to feel balanced. And some of them find that they actually feel better without that. And some of them need that with that. So it's like really tuning into, how your body feels in response to those foods.
It's interesting because a lot of times we don't even know like what those cues feel like. We work with Twisters. You work with a lot of the gymnasts individually. And I went to Twisters recently, and we're right before Thanksgiving, and we were talking about eating and being mindful and like, okay, are we going in the kitchen and we're eating because we're in the kitchen, or are we eating because we're hungry? And I asked them like, what does your body feel like when you're hungry? And I asked them to raise their hands first. I was like, who knows when they're hungry? Like, your body changes. And some of them didn't raise their hand. Like, they never were in tune with what it felt like to be hungry. And one of the girls was like, I never feel hungry. And I was like, well, why do you think that is? And it's because she's eating all day long and she never gets to a point where she's hungry. But I think it's a really cool skill to teach kids to just understand what those cues are, and anyone could benefit from that, right?
You're right. Oh, I love that. That's so powerful, especially for kids, right? Because they have that tool their whole life long if they can make a decision whether they're hungry or full or not. I love that. That makes me think about my son, like I love our conversations where I'll ask him like, are you hungry for a snack right now? And sometimes he isn't, sometimes he is. Or at dinner time, like, are you satisfied with that food that you've had? It like you ate your whole plate. That's great. Are you full? And yeah, I'm full. And every once in a while when he's growing, he's not so full, but it's like those questions that we can ask the kids so that they have those skills the rest of their life is so powerful.
I love that. We talked about 3 main things to help with controlling your hormones, but there's really such an individualized approach that you work with clients, right?
I do. Yep. And with hormones, every single person is very different, just as every person is anyways, but especially since we might have one of the 4 fundamental factors from the last episode, that might be the lowest hanging fruit. That's where we need to start. So with every person, it's definitely a different journey.
Do you work with people once they get their hormone levels tested, like they get blood drawn, they get their hormone levels, and then they really figure out, okay, what are my numbers and how do I improve those numbers?
Yes. So yes. And of course, I wish testing was used more often, I have to say. And there are some tests that, that we can use as practitioners if someone doesn't have their hormone levels tested, that you can use in an individualized way. But yes, the more information we can get from testing, the more helpful we can move forward with those specific steps.
And then you retest, right? Because it's always important. If we have a baseline, we want to see how we're progressing, if all of our work, our hard work is paying off. And, retesting within 3 months is typically what we recommend, because the average blood cell lasts about 90 days. So retesting in 3 months is a perfect amount of time. If someone wants more individualized support, you have an awesome option that's coming out soon. We were recently at breakfast and you said, Nicole, I'm so passionate about hormone health. I'd love to do something in January to help more people with this.
Yeah, so we're going to have a Know Your Hormones, Know Your Health challenge coming up starting January 24th. And it's going to be a 6-week challenge where you get to connect with us dietitians personally throughout the challenge at the beginning, the middle, and the end, so we can work with you individually. But we also have the group component, which I know in past challenges, everybody loves the group component because it really helps encourage one another, and with the accountability of taking these steps to take steps in your hormones.
I love that. So Hormone Health Challenge for Women is coming up in January, towards the end of January. Who would be the ideal person to join this challenge? If you're like, Nicole, these are the people, if someone's listening, these are the people that should join the challenge. Who would be those people that you're hoping to connect with and help out during this challenge?
Yeah. So I guess I'll zoom out first of all, women of menstruating age. So, and that could be from, someone who's just gotten her period for the first time. I wish I had this information at that age. I know I would have not had so many struggles throughout my life with nutrition and hormone balance and fertility, and all of that goes along with it. So I am so passionate about, the younger we can get this information, the more we're going to optimize our health and our fertility and all of that. And any woman who just wants to learn about their hormones, a lot of times women in their 20s and 30s are kind of like realizing that the imbalances are occurring. Life gets stressful. We have kids. Our hormones shift. So it might be after you're having kids. And then also the next stage where a lot of times we have to think about these is when we're starting to go through perimenopause and our body starts changing and our body reacts different ways to foods. So really it's from, onset of menstruation all the way to perimenopause.
I love it. So we are only opening up 35 spots for this challenge because, as you mentioned, there's a lot of individualized support. You're meeting with people at the beginning to work with them, help them create an individualized plan in the middle of the 6-week challenge and at the end. So there'll be 3 individual meetings in person or virtual for people. And then there'll be that group component, a group kickoff, which is going to be really fun. There's going to be weekly videos in the HSN app. So everyone will be able to work together to help each other out. We're going to have early registration that's going to be live starting today as this episode launches. And if you sign up in early registration, which is between now and the end of 2021, the investment for this challenge is going to be $259. If you wait in your last minute, if you wait until 2022, the price is going up to $299, but I can guarantee you this thing is going to sell out probably before the end of the year. We're super pumped to help people understand their hormone health, and you are just so passionate about it. I'm excited to give you this full range of let's just help as many people as you want.
I love it. And I have to say too, even with existing clients, we've been talking more about hormones, maybe they're listening to the podcast, even with current clients, it's been so fun to kind of go from the foundations to nutrition. And then they ask me, hey, can you help me learn more about my hormones? And I light up because, when you want that information, it's like you can never go back from having that information. Like your mind and body will be forever changed once you have that knowledge in your toolkit.
I love that. Amanda, thank you for all of your knowledge and thank you for all of your support to help people in the Healthy Steps Nutrition family make health a way of life.
It's awesome to be a part of it. Thanks, Nicole.
I hope you enjoyed that episode with Amanda. She is such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to hormone health. We are actually recording a bunch of new Healthy Steps Nutrition app videos specifically on hormone health this coming week because of the challenge launch on January 24th. All new content, great tips and simple strategies to help women optimize their hormone levels. I always think it's super interesting when we talk about stress management and cortisol levels and other hormone levels that are affected that are all related to women's health and menstruation, your cycle, and all of these things that can really help you achieve your goals or really inhibit you achieving your goals. One of the things that we always recommend doing is having a way to manage stress, even if it's just a mindful minute. Put a stopwatch on your phone and just relax and have a mindful minute every single day. One of the cool things that we are doing starting on December 20th is 12 days of health. Let me explain what it is. We have made a little graphic for people to join in on. You post it in your Instagram story, and we want you to do 4 simple things every single day. One is have a mindful minute. I don't care when that mindful minute is, but we want you to have a mindful minute. We want you to be active for 30 minutes every single day. That doesn't mean going to the gym. I understand that things are crazy right now as we're gearing up for the holidays, but just go for a walk. Do some type of activity for 30 minutes every single day. We want you to have a glass of water with every meal and snack, and have vegetables with lunch and dinner every single day. All you have to do is take a screenshot of this little graphic, post it on your story, and every day that you do it, you just mark it off. We are going to pick a winner at the end to win something super, super awesome. So it's a way for us to come together virtually and just help each other stay accountable during typically a tough season, stay on track during the holidays. So this 12 days of health is going to start on December 20th. Super, super excited about that. I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. I hope you have a very healthy holiday. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review so this podcast can reach more people. We'll see you back here with next episode, all on mental health. This is something that's near and dear to my heart. My husband and I recorded this podcast episode, and really, it's a pretty vulnerable episode. So you do not want to miss the next episode on mental health.